And we're back, people. And I had to start laughing because we started talking about how Cliff is just one of these people that is just fashionably late to be on time.
Yeah.
I was just in my own little world. Sorry.
No worries.
I was like, oh yeah, he'll be here. It's like as soon as I click that button, pop.
Well, I have to email myself the link every time. So
Just
I have
come
to
in
go
the chat.
through.
It's right there.
It don't work. I have to email myself.
Okay.
I have to email it to myself, and then I have to go through and fight with. Usually because Firefox has to update like 17 times as soon as I open the browser.
Oh no.
So it takes a little bit, but also I was in the middle of smashing some pancakes. I'm sorry. Y'all are some wonderful people.
Flapjacks are good.
Blueberry
Y'all
or
are some
regular?
wonderful people. These were butterscotch and chocolate. So yeah. Y'all are wonderful people. But pancakes come first.
I almost said something wrong, but no, that's toffee and chocolate. I'm about to say you about to
You see the mommy eyes at death I'm shooting at you, Cliff. You see the mommy eyes at death you're receiving.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry,
nothing to
but
be sorry
I'm
about.
immune to
You
those
don't
mommy
think.
eyes
He
because
didn't bring. Did he send me any? No, Western Union didn't show up at my house with no pancakes.
Would you eat pancakes that was sent to you by Western Union? I would be more apt to eat something that was freeze dried and given to me by FedEx or UPS, but not no Western Union. Not for people, not for people who just here's like here's a telegram. It's like how are you giving me pancakes? You send telegrams. You don't really send packages. You don't even send food. Why am I going to eat these pancakes from Western Union?
I got people I can feed them to test them out.
Mm.
You know, I got my own personal crash test dummy in there. So.
You know, that's what you do. You pull something out of the refrigerator and you're like, here, taste this. Is it bad?
That's what you open something. Smell that, tummy. What you think? If they're throwing up on the floor, it's like, okay, yeah, that needs to go out. You know, they start barfing on the floor. It's like, yeah, that's overdue.
I tell my kids, you try it, and if you die, I won't eat it.
I'm a bad person. Bad person. I am. I want to start us off with a review.
Wait. Because remember, I always like starting the whole thing about our not really the topic, but the header or the tagline for tonight's episode.
That's right. You guys you and Clyde put a
again,
lot of work into these
I'm old school. It's like I'm being, if I could say, back in my kid days, of like, oh my goodness, people need to look at the glory of Spidey super stories. And that's one of the things that I don't think a lot of people will understand the context of the thumbnail. That was an actual thumbnail from Spidey Super Stories as shown on Electric Company.
I thought I recognized it. Hey, Don.
Yeah, Don's here. Yep, there's Don.
Don. Yay, Don.
So, in the vein of that here, I already pre-selected our choice viewing for the evening here. And it is this episode of Spidey Super Stories here.
Spidey.
And here we go.
Here it comes, true believers. Another spine-tingling Spidey super story. In today's episode, Spidey tries to answer this question. Who stole the show? It's opening night, and backstage at the theater, Spidey watches the final rehearsals.
Shirley, it's looking good. Let's take a break now. Go to dinner. Leave the furs and dry stuff here, and good luck. Good to see you. Oh, Spider-Man, can you come to dinner with us?
But who lurks backstage waiting to strike? Me! I'm going to steal the show! Why do you want to go and do a thing like that? I'll tell you what. When I was your age, I was America's sweetheart, the world's most talented and cutest child star. Oh, I danced my way into the hearts of millions. And what's more, I always stole the show. Oh, but now I'm just an ordinary grown-up. But I can still steal the show. Oh, take it all. Oh. Talent never dies.
He stole the show.
Meanwhile, Spidey's insect sense tells him something's wrong, and he decides to return to the theater. Who stole the show? Good question, Spidey. Looks like the show's moving off Broadway. Spider-Man! I better get the show on the road!
Wow, look!
Hey! Didn't you used to be Winky Goody Shoes, the child star? Oh, you mean you remember? I knew it.
Say, I'll never forget your performance in the Dancing Apple Tree.
Oh,
Say,
yeah.
we still haven't cast the part of the Countess, the one who steals the jewels.
She'll be perfect.
Oh, but you gotta promise not to steal the show.
I promise. And so, America's sweetheart goes off to make a comeback. As for Spidey, well, he missed dinner again. Sorry, Spidey, but that's showbiz. Spider-Man, where are you coming from, Spider-Man? Nobody knows before.
And there it is, Spidey Super Story. One of the ones that I've been catching up on YouTube and everything. So it's been interesting. At least I saved you from the one that was so corny that it was just beyond ridiculousness. It's Spider-Man versus the Wall.
Okay. I don't remember that one. I kind of remember the Steal the Show one. But I don't remember. I can't recall the Wall.
The Wall was weird because they created this character called the Wall that was literally turned into a wall from a high school science project. So Spider-Man goes to a Mets game and watching his favorite player play, and the Wall actually moved himself so much to knock the player over for the ball to go over him for a home run.
Sorry, I did not realize my camera had shifted. I got to get a stand for this camera because this is getting exhausting. I sits on top of my monitor, but for some reason it decides it's not happy. It's now deciding it's not happy there. So I guess I'm going to have to get a stand for it. My technology, it has issues. It has
Understandable.
issues. Hey. If somebody can be turned into a wall from a school science project, my technology can have issues.
Yeah, I mean, Spidey Super Stories. That's the stuff that I grew up with. That was literally not my introduction to Spider-Man, but my first involvement with stories dealing with Spider-Man. I didn't get Ditko Spider-Man until much later.
my introduction to Spider-Man was the cartoon show.
67, the 67 cartoon
Yeah.
show. That came on later, or at least I started watching that later.
I was
in life.
6. I was 6. So,
yeah, because
that
when
was
I
my
was 6, they
introduction
made
to
me watch
Spider-Man.
PBS, so that's how I know about this more so. It wasn't until I was about 8 or 9 when I was really watching the 67 Spider-Man cartoon shows and really other cartoons, and I wasn't forced to watch PBS all the time.
It's so funny. I didn't learn about PBS until my uncles introduced me. I was about 8 or 9, and they were like, "You have to watch this. You have to watch this." It was Sesame Street, and they used to have this guy. He later went on to play the guy in the Jeffersons, where always had the bad back, and George had to walk on his back for him.
Oh, Mr. Bentley.
Yeah, he was Mr.
I forgot his name because I well.
Before he was Mr. Bentley, he was on he was on Sesame Street, and his bit was he would paint letters.
Yeah,
on
he was the map painter.
And so, so like he would paint letters. He would be making a sandwich, and he would paint the letters in ketchup or whatever on the sandwich. He
was the guy with the bowler hat and the handlebar mustache that would go around with his paint and his paintbrush. And he would come. It's like he would come to like a building or something that reminds him of a letter, and he would just like sneak up and be like, "Aha!" and paint it whatever letter or something that came to his mind or fit the situation here.
Yeah. Sorry. And this was Sesame Street was more cheaply made back then.
Mm-hmm.
So you also had the number, you were too young to remember it, but they used to do, because originally they used to only count to 10.
See, no, I grew up during the time of where we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Oh, you got 12. Okay. When they were at 10, and then they moved up to 12. And then eventually they made it up to 20. But they used to do this thing where they would have a number of the day and these videos where they would say, okay, today's number is the number 6. And there'd be this video where they would have somebody would go 6 eggs or 6 baby chickens, and the kids would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the last one was always the guy with something really silly, and he would sing out six or whatever of whatever he had, and it was always something that would spill and make a mess, and my uncles thought that was just funnier than anything, and I fell in love with Big Bird and Roosevelt Franklin. Because Roosevelt Franklin knows his ABCs. I'm Roosevelt Franklin. Yes, he is. Yes. So yes, y'all know.
That was one of the older ones. I barely
I
remember
had a crush on a Muppet.
No, you made me think about the Amazing Little Super Guy, the cup animation thing.
Oh yes. Oh, Amazing Little Super Guy. He was adorable. We're talking about stuff that you're like, really? This is, and you guys are the smarter generation.
I know what y'all are talking about. My girls watch the old 1970s Sesame Street on HBO Max, and they're fascinated by that weird bromance between Grover and Kermit for those years.
That bromance.
And we'll watch scenes with them in it over and over again because they find them hilarious.
Well,
and
they are.
The episode where Bert's trying to take a bath and Ernie literally brings everyone, including the band, in there.
Yeah. or the later one, he can't. They're in bed, and Bert's trying to get to sleep. Ernie can't sleep.
Yep.
So he decides he's going to do a number. And he's got a bugle and the boogie woogie sheep. The boogie woogie sheep and tap dance. It's like, oh, to me, that was like the best thing. You know,
I think their favorite is still the one where it was snowing and Grover fell in love with the snow lady instead of a snowman, and he kept putting clothes on her because she was cold, her hands were freezing, and she melted.
I didn't see that one.
They find it
I didn't see
hilarious.
that one.
They find it hilarious.
Oh wow. I still love the years of the beginnings of Mr. Snuffleupagus that nobody believed
What?
Big Bird for years.
Oh
And it
my
was just
goodness.
like,
That used to break my heart because, you know, he would spend time with Mr. Snuffleupagus and he's like, gotta go, bro. And he would leave and then he'd go, Maria, I was just hanging out with Mr. Snuff, and it's like, and they would be, and it was like this Big Bird, you know, and as a child you're sitting there, Big Bird never lies. He doesn't run around telling lies. Why won't you believe him? Big Bird does not lie.
yeah, Big Bird doesn't lie. And then on top of that, they was like, oh, okay, it's an imaginary friend. We got it. And Big Bird's like, no, Aloysius Snuffleupagus is real.
Mr. Snuffleupagus is real, and he's my friend. We spend time together. And it's like, yes, Bird, right, okay, Big Bird. I used to want to be there so I could whack somebody in the head, because you would just, as a child especially, you know, your heart just breaks.
And
At least for me.
it just, I forgot what type of party it was. He showed up. And that's when they realized that Snuffleupagus was real.
And he hadn't been lying.
Right.
You know?
It was like his birthday or something. They gave him like a surprise birthday party, and Mr. Snuffleupagus showed up, and they was like, who is this individual? I have never seen him before.
And then
and they all got curious, and it's like,
well,
see, now y'all are way better than me.
Or was it for the fact that he threw Mr. Snuffleupagus a surprise party? And he was like, yeah, he's throwing a surprise party for his imaginary friend. I remember it was some type of party that they was throwing. It was
something going on, and Snuffy just happened to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly they realized, oh, he wasn't lying, and he wasn't making it up. It wasn't pretend. It was real, you know. But I always thought Barkley was more pretend than Snuffleupagus, because it's not like you saw Barkley all the time.
Mm-mm.
Y'all are way better than me. I just spent the whole time trying to figure out if they were trying to convince Big Bird was crazy because he saw something they didn't, or all of us were crazy because we saw it too.
Well, that's the way the skits will always be, because like Big Bird's like, oh yeah, I have to go get my friend Maria because she would be able to help you with that. So he would take off to go get the other person, and then you hear something in the background. It's like, oh, that's my mother calling. I gotta go now. And he would leave, and by the time he gets back, it's like,
I think they finally did it because I think parents started writing in because children were getting in distress. You know, Big Bird's not a liar, and it was really I think it was really upsetting, especially for young children, because it's like, well, if the grown-ups won't believe Big Bird, what if something bad happens to me? Will my mommy and daddy believe me? They don't believe Big Bird about his friend. You know, and I think enough children became distressed about it and started getting in touch with them that they finally got off their butts and realized, okay, this was a joke from an adult perspective. Because I think sometimes when they did certain jokes, they were doing them more from adult perspective of humor, forgetting that this is a children's show. And while adults might find that funny, children, you know, would find that very distressing.
It was more distressing because, like you said, Big Bird wasn't lying.
He wasn't
but
lying.
All the adults that was on Sesame Street was putting Big Bird in this classification. It's like, it's okay to have an imaginary friend, and was convincing Big Bird that Aloysius double up because
It was like they were,
imaginary. And he's like, no, he's not in my mind. He's
but it was as if he was being unintentionally gaslit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think enough parents were realizing this is putting children in a state of distress that maybe, you know, the PBS needs to rethink the direction this is going. Either we need to get rid of Mr. Snuffleupagus altogether, because think of it, they had, I'm trying to remember, no, I think Mr. Hooper, no, Mr. Hooper didn't die until well after Snuffy. That's right. Mr. Hooper didn't die until after Snuffleupagus got revealed as the
no, in Midway. He died midway.
Midway, okay.
He died midway because
because the thing is, parents are like, how can you be so sensitive about, on the one hand, you're so sensitive about dealing with the death of Mr. Hooper so our children aren't distressed and they can feel it's okay to express that mourning, but also accept that life will go on. And yet here is something so vital that you guys, it's not a joke to the kids. Adults might think this is kind of funny, but I think enough people are going, this isn't funny to the kids. The kids are looking at Big Bird being treated like life. Because I think in every child's life, you come to a situation where something happens, you tell the truth, and nobody believes you.
Well,
and you're trying to go, no, this is what happened, and they will not believe you. And either you're accused of lying, or you're making it up, and so I don't know of any child in that age group who probably hadn't had that happen to some degree at one time for whom that wasn't distressing. And then to see Big Bird and all of the people, because Big Bird didn't understand. Big Bird was sort of Sesame Street's child. He was an orphan. He didn't have a mommy or a daddy.
Right. I mean,
he had parents, but
he was Elmo before Elmo.
Yeah. But eventually they gave Elmo a family.
Mm-hmm.
And yet one of the Sesame Street movies was a social worker for birds showed up and decided Big Bird couldn't live on Sesame Street anymore because he was an orphan and she could put in an orphanage. It was Follow That Bird.
Yes.
And
I didn't see that one.
Oh, yeah. Imagine.
I saw that one in theaters.
My sons were really upset because, Sesame Street was his home and he had people who were taking care of him, who cared about him. And yet this know-it-all birdie lady came and just took him away. So.
But again, that's the modernization of Sesame Street over the years, because the whole thing with Snuffleupagus, it was funny maybe the first 2 or 3 times he pulled the joke here. It got dark when the adults started to get together to say, it's like, oh, maybe that's his imaginary friends, start humoring Big Bird, because Big Bird doesn't lie about these types of things. Maybe he did see something, maybe it's something that's going on with him. Eventually he will come out of it. Because I remember those episodes where the adults were talking about what's really going on with Mr. Snuffleupagus. Is he making it up? Is it really real?
But
and they played the whole humor him thing. And it's like, yeah, the kids may not like that or understand that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This was more adult oriented in that regard, and they forgot who their core audience were. So yeah, they had to get up and go, oh, we can't, enough people came and said, maybe we shouldn't, maybe we shouldn't watch your show anymore, or let our kids watch your show. Or tell you what, next time you've got a fundraiser, we won't be sending you any money.
Mm-hmm.
And he started putting it to them like, yeah, oh, wait. That's when they're like, oh, okay, maybe this joke has gone on long enough. We need to put it to bed and, make it make sense. Like Cliff, I like, oh, Leia's here.
Well, the whole thing that I remember most about the older Sesame Street from like the 70s and 80s I want to say, the beginnings, because it began in like the early 70s, and the 80s and everything was like this most pivotal period. When it got to the 90s, that's where it got
Actually, it
that whole
started.
modernization and changing things here.
It started in the 60s because, like I said, I was around 8 or 9 when my uncles hit me to it, and that had to be about 69.
Yeah.
So yeah, so late 60s on in.
Yeah. So
And it's if you watch it, the filming techniques have gotten much slicker, but in many ways, I like the older raw Sesame Street. And also, I miss when Jim Henson left, and I get it. There were things he wanted to do with the Muppets that he couldn't do on Sesame Street. And he still felt he had things he wanted to do, stories he wanted to tell that couldn't be told. And then when they were doing Saturday Night Live, and it was like, okay, you can't keep doing this because, parents watch Saturday Night Live and maybe they don't approve of your Muppets on Saturday Night Live that are, even though they weren't the exact same Muppets. They weren't the same Muppets. These outer space moon guy Muppets were not the Muppets in any way feature. But, and people forget, Miss Piggy was never on Sesame Street.
No, Miss Piggy was part of the Muppet Show, which came much later.
But I've had people go, oh, the Muppets, the Muppets on Sesame Street. And it's like, no, Miss Piggy was never on Sesame Street.
Just like Kermit's beginning was the coffee commercials.
We saw the beginnings of Kermit, and then one of the more famous things he did on Sesame Street, and I think covered over, was the Rainbow Connection song. It was one of the more, It's Not Easy Being Green. I think two of the hits from Sesame Street that then carried over was It's Not Easy Being Green and then the Rainbow Connection. And I think both of those are written by Paul Williams.
I think so, but it still doesn't outrank C is for Cookie. That's all I need to know.
No, that's C is for Cookie. That's good enough for me. C is
Cookie.
for
Cookie starts with C.
Yes.
I know the song like the back of my hand, just like Rubber Ducky, you're the one.
Paul Williams. I did not know, because I was a kid at the time and I didn't pay attention to who was writing songs for Sesame Street. Paul Williams wrote a lot of Sesame Street stuff.
But that's the difference between the older Sesame Street, because the older Sesame Street really involved Sesame Street being about community and about everyday life. That's the reason why they had the people and everything that they had. By the time we get to like the 90s, everything started shifting more towards the puppets and away from everyday life as it was, because we don't want kids to have to relive what they have, what they're going through at this time. It's like, no, their coping mechanism was in the stories that was being told. I mean, the whole thing with Michael and Mr. Hooper, for Michael working with Mr. Hooper, then eventually then Louise coming in to help out with Mr. Hooper and all the other stuff. It was all about community. You saw every ethnicity on Sesame Street working together, playing together, learning together.
Susan drove the cab.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that they had women, and you saw this more in New York than you did other places. You had women who had what we would have called the unconventional jobs. Susan drove a cab, and Louise and Maria had the fix-it shop. Maria was the mechanic, and she had the fix-it shop. And because there were a couple of times she worked on Susan's cab.
Gordon did what?
I know what he did at night because I've seen those blaxploitation movies.
No, I'm talking about for Sesame Street. He did something specific because let's see, Olivia was the florist, if I remember correctly.
Is Olivia the one who was deaf? There was the woman who was deaf that eventually married David. She had Barkley.
Right.
And
one of
she
them was a florist. I know either David or her was a florist.
Yeah.
I know that much.
But yeah, Mr. Hooper had the store.
Mm-hmm.
I think Luis at one point cooked. I think he had a restaurant or something like that. Luis, I think, had a restaurant or something.
I think you're right. I think David
he took over as the short order cook for Michael, because Michael was the short order cook for Mr. Hooper when his store was more of a newsstand / coffee shop.
Yeah, okay. But they were all, because they used to have one of my favorite things. I actually wrote a satire of it called "The Bigot is the Person in Your Neighborhood," was who are the people in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And because Kermit or sometimes Ernie would sing it, where they would pick out somebody.
Why do I remember what's his name singing it?
Who?
The one that married Olivia.
No, I'm thinking one of the Muppets started out with the people in your neighborhood. Or
right.
I could be wrong.
It started out with somebody else, but by the time we got to like the 80s, it was
it wasn't the Muppet
David.
song anymore.
It was David that used to sing it.
But
David was the one that was like, who are the people in your neighborhood?
And they would talk about the mailman, the fireman, the officer, you know, because they're the people that you meet when you're walking down the street. They're the people that you meet these days. Oh God, why do I remember this stuff?
but again, it's one of those things that it's I mean, in the day and time that we're talking about where they're cutting funding for PBS, these were the types of things back in the day that actually help spur the growth of the next generation. So that's
because these were the things, you know, just about every kid I knew had somewhere along their 6-block radius where there was a beat cop, even if it was just them sitting if they just drove down the street, the beat cop at least every few blocks or something. We lived on Jackson, so we had a couple of beat cops, and sometimes they would sit at areas on the street, so long as they didn't harass anybody. The neighborhood association wouldn't file any complaints, but we had them. We knew they were there if there was ever any danger, especially if you had a school. We always had a beat cop around our schools, especially after people. You know, one of my things against the Panthers when they came to Chicago, they would fight other gangs for supremacy in the neighborhood. And where I went to school, when I was going to the first school I went to, the Blackstone Rangers were the gang. And they had programs similar to the Panthers. But the Panthers wanted dominance in our area. So they would fight the Rangers. And they would do it on the grounds of our school while we were getting out of school. So you would be just coming off the playground or whatnot, because we would get out. They didn't get out in the front of the school. For some reason, they always let us out to the playground. You get out of the playground onto the street, and you'd see trucks, and somebody would scream, "They're coming!" And every one of us children could have made the Olympic team of sprinters. You would never see so many little black children.
They knew what that meant. They knew that what that meant. It was about to be some trouble.
It was about to be some trouble. And if and the farther away you lived, the faster and the harder you had to run, because you didn't want to be you didn't want to be in that area. You wanted to get as far away from it as you could. And I just remember those days of, just for me, because it wasn't like you would know ahead of time. so they could let us out of school early. It's not like they would go to the school and say, hey, we're going to throw down with so-and-so on your schoolyard. You know, we couldn't, because then, you know, the school would call the cops.
It's like just a picture of one of them coming up into the school office, knocking on the principal's door. It's like, oh yeah, I would like to schedule use of the schoolyard right about 2:30 this afternoon. Oh, what for? Oh, we have a confrontation with another local organization that we need to settle some
we
type
need to
of
schedule
it
we
would be
need
a simple it would be a simple debate, but it would be easier for us if everybody was gone by that time.
You had to be there. I'm sorry. This is one of those things you had to be there.
Look, if it wasn't for comic books and TV, I wouldn't have known there was such a thing as a beat cop to begin with. We don't have that. We don't have that down here.
Y'all don't have.
We got the sheriff's deputies that sit in the car and wait for you to speed. That's it. We don't have. If it wasn't for Top Cat, I wouldn't have known what a beat cop was.
Officer Digby.
Yep.
You know, we had back in the day, just about, and I can only speak for the west side and north sides of the city. I understand it was a little different on areas of the south side. But where I lived, every park, no matter how big or small, had a field house. And that every field house had a staff. They would have one or two staff. One guy who usually, at least one of those guys, was off-duty police. He would usually sit in he would sit in the field house, but every few hours he would get up and at Moore Park, it was like 2 blocks. There was the area where we played at, which was concrete areas bordered by either sand pits where we had swing or a little grass area with trees that were we had these trees. I had never seen these types of bushes that had these thorns. And I remember they were put in a little grove, and and I used to love to kind of walk through the grove because it was someplace a lot of kids didn't go because they had these thorns were about this long. And so if you didn't walk through the grove just right, you would get torn. And so I liked being small and I could get through the thorns. But between that area and the basketball court were all the older teenagers and guys getting off work would play. There's this big gravel lot, and then on the other side of the lot was the field house, and behind that was a little grassy park area that we weren't supposed to go to. But if the guys were in a good mood, you could come hang out at the field house sometimes. And every once in a while, the guard, as the guard grew lazy, we had teen boys who would show up, usually with a German Shepherd or a Doberman. And you would see kids playing on the playground, and they would set the dog loose, to cause chaos. And then I would go where the thorns were.
Like, yeah, puppy, come where
the thorns are. I am the thorn witch. Come at me. Because in the summer, when you're trying to get across a gravel pit, and it's that white gravel that heat reflects, you've got heat coming down and heat reflecting up. I used to think this is what it must be like to go through the Sahara. Trying to get there. But it was perfect in the winter because that whole thing, when a good snowstorm, it would snow, then melt, and then freeze over. And we would skate. And we were little black kids, so we didn't have skates, but we had boots. So I don't know if they did this where you grew up, Clip. We would run and then slide. that was skating for us. And if you were really good, you might turn or hold a pose or something. I'm talking crazy. You're going, oh.
We don't.
He was going. No, I just picture you going full Dorothy Hamill.
No, my mama
down
wouldn't let me
here,
cut my hair.
Down here, if they say the word snow or ice, we shut down the city.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone buys up all the bread and milk.
Got it. Okay. Where I was.
Because for the entirety of the state of Mississippi, we have one snow truck.
Okay.
So,
and it never leaves the interstate.
Let's put it this way.
It never leaves the interstate. It does not come into any city. It just clears the interstate.
The man who basically inherited the mayorship of Chicago from Pop Daley lost it because the first big snowstorm of his tenure, he hadn't been on top of streets and sanitation to make sure that all the trucks had enough salt. So the city, we got hit by a massive snowstorm and the city got shut down. Buses couldn't run. People were digging themselves out. This was before they started shooting each other over parking spaces. That was 10 years later. This was much before. And Jane Byrne, who had been told that Bilandic was going to make her first lady of the city, and then he picked Heather to be his missus. She organized streets and sanitation because she was one of the city commissioners. She organized streets and sanitation, and she had the loop cleared. And then from the loop, she started clearing out neighborhoods. And to her credit, she actually remembered that the south and west sides of the city existed, and the city needed us as much as they needed the folks downtown and on the north side. So it took her a little longer, but she did get the south and west sides, including the project. She actually got us all cleared out. And because she had done that, and she could say, that was actually her campaign. She was like, remember the winter? Remember what this man failed to do? Who dug you out? And we all went, vote for Jay. Even kids who couldn't vote were grabbing our mamas going, vote for Jay. Because, they basically Pop Daley literally died at his desk. And Junior couldn't become mayor at that time because he had already failed his he failed the law exam, the bar exam 3 times, and Pop had to pay for the younger Mayor Daley. Pop had to pay for him to pass the bar, and at that point, nobody trusted Junior with the city. So they weren't going to let Junior just become the mayor
right away,
because his daddy was mayor. It took him, 10, 15 years before people were able to look over that. But at the time, it was like, when he would say something, it's like, how many times did you fail that exam before your daddy paid for it? And he would show up and walk away. Politics in Chicago, we make Texas look scary.
It was bad. It was bad. But again,
why do you think all those Texas people are here?
There were some roadblocks that he went through, that Richard M. went through. And
eventually he got over them. But at the time,
back in the 60s, he did not have a chance. He did not have a chance.
Nobody wanted to hear anything he had to say in the 70s. We're talking the 70s when Daddy died. So nobody wanted to hear any of that. It was like, you need, little boy, go sit your ass down. And, here's a coloring book, Junior. Go play. There's a, there's a reason all them Texas folks are here. Okay, we handle our politics very seriously in Chicago. We will spill blood
It was
if we got
weird
to.
when his father was alive. It was very, very weird because
The
again, we
Irish
just got over
mob
the we
ran the
just,
city.
Mhm.
The
we,
Irish mob ran, because understand, Pop Daly came up under Capone and all those guys that
he
were
ran
big
most of this
time
country.
mobsters.
He ran most of the country
He was the
directly from
last,
his office.
when Pop Daly died, the U.S. government breathed a sigh of relief because he was the last living person who knew the truth about what happened to Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
He was in on it. So when he
I mean,
died,
he was the only one to get away with the riots that had happened at the Democratic convention. Any other city, they would have had that
any other
mayor
mayor
strung up and ready to hang him. Not with
here in Chicago,
not with this Daily. Nope.
the mob used to execute certain individuals using our trains. What is now the Purple and the Brown line on Wells Street. Whenever we always knew when some mobster had screwed up and screwed up royally, because the news would report how somebody at 5 something in the morning, where the only eyewitness, said they were standing at least at the most maybe 10 to 15 feet from the edge of the platform. As the Evanston Express was pulling in, suddenly slipped, flipped, and did a swan dive in onto the tracks as the train pulled in and ran them over, and they died.
Mm-hmm.
And little school children would go, "That's a mob hit."
Mhm.
And we had several of those, and because even little school children were going, "That's a mob hit." I think Pop Daly said, "No, y'all can't use the CTA to execute people anymore. You're going to have to find another way to do this." Because, little black kids on the west and south sides are going, "That's a mob hit." And that was the problem. But I will say, for the Irish mob, as much as a headache they were, downtown was safe.
Mm-hmm.
The worst we had downtown, depending on where you were, because we used to have a beat cop. What was it? Jackson and State Street, Monroe and State, Madison and State, Washington and Randolph all had beat cops on both sides of the streets. You could go down the street and be safe, even if you were a black person, so long as you weren't, it was a don't start nothing, won't be nothing type of stuff. And because if you were a tourist and you were lost, you could go to the beat cop and say, "Oh, Mr. Policeman, I'm from Paducah, Kentucky, and I'm trying to find blah, blah, blah." And they all knew they knew their beats, because
Mm-hmm.
they knew everything from State Street to Michigan, State Street to Clark. In their little area, they could tell you how to get anywhere. And make sure, that you got there safely. State Street downtown was one of the safest places. At the worst you might do is you might run into, say, a pickpocket. But, those of us who had lived on the west and south sides usually were taught, keep your ears and eyes open. So we didn't get pickpocketed easy. you know? But it used to be that was neutral territory. The mob made it neutral territory. That was no guns, no knives, no nothing. it was a relatively safe place to be. And 24 hours a day, it was safe. When the mob started losing influence, they started pulling back the beat cops. And then after this last situation with the George Floyd, there are no more. You might see a car, but you don't see actual police on the corners who were friendly. It used to be Grant Park before it got sectioned into sections, and it's Grant Millennium, blah blah blah. They had mounted police.
All of it was Grant Park.
It was all Grant Park, and you would see mounted police throughout the day. And they would, if you went up to them very politely and said, "Hey, Mr. Policeman, can I pet your horse?" They would usually say, "Sure." You know, they just wouldn't let you feed them anything. And I said, you know, I've noticed you guys don't let anybody even offer them an apple, even little Jewish ladies. And they were like, we can't guarantee that there's not something in there. Mm-hmm. So for the safety of our horse, ourselves, and the public, we just don't allow it. You know, but we used to have, Grant Park had them, Lincoln Park had them for a while. Garfield Park, I think for at least a short while, had
only for special occasions.
When there was, because they had the conservatory, so when there were special occasions at the conservatory, you would see mounted police. Mm-hmm. You know, the worst thing about my neighborhood, because my neighborhood, if you went a mile west of us, we bordered Oak Park, and our big park was Columbus Park, and the northern edge was Jackson, and the southern edge was right before you got to the expressway. The eastern edge was Central. So Columbus, and Columbus was huge.
You was way west.
It had its own lagoon, and it had a golf course. They had it. I think it was an 8-hole golf course. But none of our dads played golf there, because even though it was a city park, which meant the golf course should have been open to anybody, all the Oak Park people who didn't pay taxes in Chicago, didn't live in Chicago, for some reason thought that was their private golf course. And the city backed them up. And that
kind of like the whole shenanigans with the Jackson Park or the South Shore golf course.
Well, my understanding is the folks that moved here, the Black people and Hispanics and Jews that moved here, they built that because they weren't allowed to play golf in the suburbs or on the north side, and they couldn't join any of those country clubs. Mm-hmm. And so they built that. And it's interesting because that's one of the last places that the few mounted police still have their horses, is in the cultural center.
But that's the weirdness behind all of it, because for it to be city owned, it certainly is a members only type golf course now.
Okay, then that must be recent, because the reason I learned about it is because my cousin Sonia, when she was alive, her husband Mark used to go play golf there. Mm-hmm. And she told me about it, and how, oh yeah, there are a lot of people that they go, and that's where they go play golf because other places still won't let them in. Even though they had more than enough money, they weren't allowed in. And the city, in its way, is letting it crumble to dust. They keep the interior of the main building up with those lovely columns and stuff. They don't repair them. The outer walls are not repaired or anything. But
the internals, they try to keep that up as much as possible, but they don't keep the course up all that well.
They don't keep the course up on the southern side of what is the main building, there is an outdoor space with a stage and a viewing area, and they have not kept it up. As much money as they make doing weddings, and to me, it's like, why aren't you using that? If I were doing, you could, that space alone, they could easily do a music festival in, because there's a stage there, then there's an open place for dancing, and then you've got all that space beyond where people can pitch tents and sit and whatnot. So there's more than enough space. It's not Lollapalooza side, but if you were doing jazz or classic R&B or old school doo-wop and stuff, it would be a perfect venue for that.
It would be a perfect single stage venue. It wouldn't be a multi-stage venue. It would be a perfect single stage venue.
That would be the A+ stage. There's so much space. There's a beach there. There is a beach in that place. They could easily set stages all around an area without encroaching on the golf course. There's more than enough space where you could set 3 stages that they could do a music festival in. It's not that the space isn't there, but it's interesting because I used to go to the Celtic Art Fair when they were holding it downtown in Grant Park. And when we moved back, I got to know women, and they were like, well, where did you who are your people and whatnot? Because I had used to hang out at the Celtic Arts Center in LA. So I gotten into Irish music and stuff, and I knew a little Gaelic. And the Welsh Tafias adopted me. Ooh, what did I just do?
No. That was me. I hit something by accident.
Okay. The Welsh Tafia adopted me into their organization, and then Celtic Women International. It's like, we think you might be Irish. The Welsh Tafias were like, we think you might be Welsh. They both said, don't care. Either way, you belong to us. And the last couple of years that we had the Celtic Arts Festival, Celtic Women's International actually had me come and work their booth, and it was the greatest joke because people would come and I'd be sitting there and I'd greet people in Welsh, and they go, yeah, she's one of us. What's your problem?
So you had your moment of Dave Chappelle racial draft. Have you seen that skit, Cliff?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Comedy Central used to have this show called the Dave Chappelle Show. Heard the
I've seen
comedian
Dave Chappelle Show.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the skits that he did that was famous on that show was the racial draft, where people of other races get drafted by other races.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason, the Welsh and the Irish both decided I needed to belong to. The Irish adopted me first in LA, but the Welsh decided, well, you're better at being Welsh than you are being Irish, so you belong to us. But the women at Celtic Women's International is like, we don't care, she belongs to us. You can borrow her. And I still get emails and stuff from them.
So that was the whole thing about, so she had her racial draft moment.
Yeah, the only 2 things I remember from the Dave Chappelle show was when he played the crackhead and I'm Rick James, bitch. That was it.
Oh, the true Hollywood stories as told by whatchamacallit.
Well, we're in their second hour. Really quick. I binged part 1 of season 2 of Wednesday yesterday with my goddaughter. Okay. Cliff, it's dark. I could see your oldest getting into it. Not your youngest would. I could see your youngest taking it to heart and thinking, there's some ideas for stuff I could do in there. So I wouldn't recommend it for you girls. But I will say, I love Jenna Ortega in this. I hate the fact that we had to wait years to get season 2, but by the time we were halfway through episode 1, Courtney and I both agreed, it was worth the wait. And I don't want to spoil anything, but this season is really good. Pugsley is now at the school.
Oh, Lord.
Well, did you see season 1?
We've watched it multiple times.
Oh, okay.
All three of my girls are all about it.
Okay, I didn't know.
My 2 youngest, my oldest pretends she's not all about it, but she watches it.
Well, it did not disappoint. And what's his name? I See Dead People kid.
Mm-hmm.
He's all grown up and fat now. He plays a serial killer. The Tennessee or something scalper.
I saw that coming for him.
I'm not saying more than that, but it was good. Like I said, I wasn't disappointed. We get to see. Last season, we didn't really see much of Zetta Jones as Morticia. And I think, because they wanted to focus more on Wednesday than Morticia, they kind of kept her a little back in the series. This time we see her, and I think she's found her way into carving her Morticia. Carolyn Monroe had her Morticia. What's her name? Had her Morticia. Zetta Jones is now carving out her Morticia. And while they all easily fall under Morticia Addams, each of their Morticias are unique to those actresses. And I love the fact that you get to see Zetta Jones have some scenes where she gets to shine. I am very bummed Gwendolyn Christie, her character did not survive, and so while she is not in the series, they remembered her. This season, they have touched upon the original IP memories, because they're talking more about Ophelia, which is Morticia's sister. So she's mentioned more. Goody was Gomez's mother, and this season they're bringing Morticia's mother, grandmama, in on it. Mrs. Front. It is. It's one of those things you just have to see it to believe it. And Fester, the idea of Fred Armisen as Fester originally did not sit well with me when I found out he was going to be in the show. I'd seen Portlandia, liked him in Portlandia, and it's like, no, that man cannot be Fester. He has made Fester his own. And he's only in it for a short bit, but he's the only member of that cast who basically steals a scene from Jenna Ortega. And she happily kind of gives it up. But there's a great blindfolded sword fight scene between Wednesday and Morticia that is not to be missed. It is, I loved it. Especially when you think of the first sword fight she had in the first episode with the young siren girl. But they touch on, and you know, the first episode, of course, was done by Tim Burton. And he touches on the series and the movies. So the only thing is Baby Pubert's not there.
Oh.
You can't get everything. But and they do it in the way that is loving. They're not. Some shows will when they address the original IP, it's like spitting in the face of it. They do things that are a bit of a love letter to what came before. And I think in the first show, they were so busy trying to establish Wednesday as an older character, they were kind of just trying not to deal with stuff and trying to go, no, this is where we're going. Having done that, now they can look back. And Zombie by the Cranberries as a classical music piece is just not to be friggin' missed. Last time it was the Rolling Stones Paint It Black. This time it's Zombie, played on a piano as an orchestral piece. Can't say more than that. Billy Piper is in it. And yes, I will give away that Christina Ricci is in the second season. Not
I thought she died.
Nope.
Oh.
She didn't die. But they put her somewhere. And I can't say more than that. But it did not disappoint. And the two black men, I binged it. I watched someone else watch season 1. And they made their Centel made a point I hadn't considered is Wednesday for those young girls 14 to say mid-20s. She's their new standard. And he rightfully reminded the guy he was talking with that Wednesday Addams is the archetype. All the goth girls that you see portrayed in cartoons and TV shows and stuff, they're all based on Wednesday Addams.
Mm-hmm.
She is the archetype of that character. And this show reminds us that she is the archetype. Even Margot Robbie's crazy Joker Batgirl, Harley Quinn, is in a way, she's a play off Wednesday. And she at one point had been the golden standard, and Margot Robbie went and did Barbie, and now the girls aren't, they're kind of like, because there's such diametrically opposed characters. I think a lot of young girls are kind of torn on, well, we're more Harley, we're more Barbie. Can she be both people? Whereas, as it was pointed out, Ortega has made herself synonymous with this character. And you see a lot. It's hard to say where Wednesday ends and Jenna Ortega begins. She has made this such a part of herself. And I love the fact that they don't scream it, but you get to see emotional growth in Wednesday. But it's Wednesday's emotional growth. So you're not gonna, you see her making strides emotionally, but it's not the way that, say, Barbie would make emotional strides. But it is definitely, if you have not watched it yet, watch it. Part 2 will air September 3rd. Which I believe is also a Wednesday, so we'll get Wednesday on a Wednesday. We had barbecue pulled chicken and corn on the cob yesterday to celebrate our Wednesday of Wednesday. And they have indeed, it has actually been reported and backed up. They've already greenlit the next season. So there will be no more waiting 2 to 3 years before, and poor Jenna has to go find other jobs. So they have already greenlit. I guess they're already working on scripts and whatnot. And yes, just like last time, she does have a mystery to deal with. And Pugsley's storyline, zombies. That's all I'm gonna say. Zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head?
What's in my head?
That's part of the song. Courtney and I were literally watching this scene and doing the lyrics as we watched. I'm sure at that point the men in our households were like, okay, we know she went through menopause, but this is some crazy menstrual stuff. We're gonna leave them in that part of the house and just not talk to them. But it definitely gets 20 things. And the birdie. And also, if you're into literature, they actually, because it's Wednesday and they always want you to learn something on this show, there are a lot of literature references where if you haven't read, you will not get it. That's it. That's
how well does it follow the source material, especially from the movies?
Okay, like I said, Baby Pubert isn't there. It's
I don't care about Baby Pubert. That's not who I'm thinking about.
They went back to the original IP for live action to the series, and they're bringing it. They're right at this section that we just finished. They are talking about Ophelia and what Ophelia went through, what made her mad, may be affecting Wednesday to a degree. I don't want to say more than that. But Ophelia, even though she's not physically there, she is discussed. Grandmama is very different from the TV show. And the grandmama of the TV show and movie was Gomez's mom.
Right.
Grandmama is, and they called her Goody in the series, the Wednesday series. Grandmama is Morticia's mother, Mrs. Frump, who is very wealthy because she owns a crap ton of cemeteries. Because she's a frump, what do you got to say? But so she's one of those characters. Even before you see her, she figures heavily. You realize she's going to figure heavily in the storyline. There are a lot of nods to what came before. Some of them, a couple are like, oh, but most of them, if you don't, because they also, and I get it, Burton realizes that the girls who are loving this series may have never seen the movies, or they've seen the movies and they don't know anything about the TV series.
Or the comics.
Or Edgar Gorey's comics and stuff like that. So he is slowly bringing things in too, because back, like I said, that first one, they were trying to establish Wednesday, and so they kind of ignored a lot of that stuff. But this time they are putting little things in. Every episode has little bits and pieces where, for those of us, and I grew up on the original TV series, I wanted to be married to Gomez Adams so bad it wasn't funny. Who needed Superman when you could have Gomez Adams? What can I say? I'm weird. But
wait, so you would have John Astin over Raul Julia?
John Astin was like my first huge crush. I wanted to be Morticia so I could marry Gomez. Not to say I did not like Raul Julia and didn't have the hots for him. They were very, and like I said, they have finally realized that people have to be not just Jenna Ortega, but they all have to be their own very distinct versions of these characters. So, John Astin's Gomez was while he had some connection and understood, John Astin in later years took some heat because here's this white guy playing a Hispanic character. But at the time, they weren't going to hire Desi Arnaz or somebody to play Gomez Adams.
Again, that's just the nature of Hollywood at the time. That's the way it was.
But, And then finally with Raul Julia, now with Guzman, you had Hispanic actors playing this Hispanic part. But at the time, the Gomez, and I always think, yeah, but he was my Gomez. Though I love Raul Julia, he put his own spin on Gomez, where you could appreciate the one and still love the other. You didn't. And finally, Guzman especially when they show him in his scenes.
Guzman was to me a direct reflection of the old comics.
And
that's
because
what people
that's how
fail
he was
to realize. People wanted television series. He was the cartoon strips. He was old school Gomez.
And he does not disappoint, and he brings both weight and humor to Gomez, but he's made it his. This is his Gomez. We have each of these characters. We have seen. It's like watching an evolution, and and they're all like, even Armistead as Fester. And the thing is they had our TV Fester, not our TV, sorry, our movie Fester is in this series.
That's the reason I asked the question, because so far you haven't mentioned the one character that I was hoping will probably be in the series, but they probably going to write him in such a way where they're not there yet.
It took me a moment to go, holy crap, it's the movie Fester, because he's not Fester.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about the professor, but I'm talking about the professor that's in the series.
He's the head. That's him.
Yeah, that's the head. That's my guy Doc Brown, aka
I can't remember
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
That's Christopher Lloyd, who was the Fester in the movies.
But that's not the character who I'm talking about.
Who are
I
you
want to go back to Adam Family Values.
Okay.
The so-called suitor to Wednesday, the one that was slowly being to be not her Gomez Adams.
No, he's not. We don't see him.
That's where I think is the mistake here.
But we've only seen. This season was to let us get to see everybody else's iterations of these characters and how they were their characters, and as well as putting forward a plot. We still have a whole half of the season that we haven't seen yet, so he could show. Like I said, I had to be reminded that I was looking at Haley Joel Osment. I was looking at Haley Joel Osment as a serial killer. Somebody had to remind me, that's Haley Joel Osment. And somebody said, yeah, I kind of figured he'd be a serial killer at this stage of his life. It's like, dang. But there's a lot of things that go on, and there are a lot of references to literature and music. Also, there's some visual stuff going on that if you're not careful, you might miss it. But yeah, I totally recommend it. We've got some more of them comments. Sorry. I'm gonna let it go because yeah, she's like it. I've eaten up 20 minutes of the second half, and we're supposed to be talking comics, but I didn't get a chance. I haven't had any money, and I haven't had a chance to read anything.
She missed the Spidey Super Stories in the beginning, so
yeah. Also about my comic, I am redoing.
She's making the Dave Chappelle reference to the crackhead. That's why it says scratch itself at the end of it.
Oh, okay. Right. But I am redoing.
We want to get back to that one.
Book one, and I am redoing cover to book 2. But anyway, yeah, I highly recommend it. I have a way back one I will review for next time because there's 39 minutes left, and I need to give you guys chance to talk before she comes to my house and kills me.
No, you're doing all right. because again, Wednesday is probably going to be one of those shows that I gotta binge watch because it's not in my top tier list of things to watch. But I'm more curious because that was the one character from all of the history of Addams Family that I thought they actually got right, because of the simple fact that Wednesday in the comics was being groomed to find her version of Gomez.
And I think that's part of
Morticia's
this.
family felt Gomez was the perfect fit for her.
And
They are looking for somebody for Wednesday because Wednesday takes more after Morticia than Gomez.
Well, in this one, Wednesday takes more. She's more connected emotionally to Gomez than she is Morticia. And that was the only thing that's ever bothered me about this series. And I've gotten better at dealing with it in this season. Because you get more of Morticia's talking about it, not just her Wednesday's anger. And I think for Burton that was sort of a sly way of addressing that they were looking for Gomez for Wednesday, with the attitude of they're going to be this generation's Gomez and Morticia. And I think part of Wednesday's anger is she didn't want to be a cookie cutter version of Morticia.
She could never be a cookie cutter version of Morticia. But then again, the comics also had her rebelling against her Morticia's side of the family anyway, because Morticia's side of the family was a lot more cutthroat than Gomez's side. Way more cutthroat.
And like I said,
it plays a lot about her mentality.
And we've been seeing this character dynamic come up since the 60s of young female characters not wanting to be their mothers and trying to find their own voice. So it's not like she's not playing an archetype that hasn't been there before. Yeah, they didn't do it in the Brady Bunch, but Jan didn't want to end up being Marsha.
Right.
So they kind of did it. But yeah, it is her trying, and you see that within the cast. Every of these members is trying to find their own voice, which is interesting since one of the kids who comes back is, of course, the siren who helped lead the Nightshades.
Mm-hmm.
And we see her backstory in this as well. We get, you know what? My studio is haunted because that's the second time my light just up and went off on me. So my studio is haunted. Great. Now I gotta
it's giving you mood lighting. That's what it is.
No, I gotta go get me some pink salt out my kitchen and spread it around because I will be. Don't make me come up there again because y'all gonna be in trouble. Remember, I got stuff. Anyway, it was good. Watch it. If you've already watched it with your girls, there is nothing going on then in this season. If they saw last season, they can sit through this season. They'll be cool with it. I was just, I'm always thinking about your girls, trying to make sure that. Do you have a Fandango account?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Fandango used to be Voodoo.
Maybe. I'm really bad about signing up for stuff and forgetting.
Okay.
So
especially since Fandango doesn't charge you a monthly fee. It's just it lets you buy movies. I was curious because I had some things on Fandango I wanted to gift once I get a chance, but it's like, well, you have to make sure he's got the Fandango account. You can't gift him.
I'll double check. I'm not sure.
Thank you. But anyway, yep, that's it for me. I am melting. I am dying.
Well, thank you so much for that, because like I said, that one character to me was going to be pivotal because it was more along the lines that he was the first person of an opposite gender that understood her
and came into their world
mm-hmm.
from the outside. The only thing about the
willingly
thing
did
about
that.
the series that bothers me is that they now refer to themselves as outcasts. And I never thought of the Adams as outcasts. I thought of them as maybe
That comes from the
outsiders or
animated movie.
outliers, but I never thought of them as outcasts.
That comes from the animated movies, just to let you know.
Okay, yeah, because in the animated movies I saw the one, and John and I both agreed, if we don't see another one, the world will not end for us.
Well, the animated movies explain Pugsley the way that the comics did, because like Pugsley is not a true blood Adams.
Okay, that I did.
So that was the key thing about the whole tradition, the whole Swords thing, and everything in the animated series.
Well,
he was not a pure blood Adams. Okay. He was more adopted or brought in.
Well, in the TV series and in the live action movies,
he was pure blood. He was pure
blood. You know, because it's like when they have baby Pubert, you know, there's the joke about one of the other children has, and one of the other children has to, you know, has to die, and it's like we already, and you know, and Wednesday looks and is like, we have a boy. You know, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna do you in, but Wednesday's attitude towards Pugsley in this series is very much like her attitude towards him in the first series. I can mess around and bother my brother, but if anybody else messes with my brother, I'm going to find you in a pool and fill it with, you know, live fish.
You have to understand.
Fill it with live piranha. So yeah.
You have to understand how she did a lot of her torture and testing on Pugsley.
Yeah. You know, I saw the first movie.
Not an average person could take some of the stuff that
play
Pugsley that she did to Pugsley. You know, so you could just imagine if you tried to bully Pugsley, what would happen to you.
Yeah. You know. It's what made me fall in love with the first series was like, yep, you go, girl. You know, walking in on those boys with their bags of live piranhas. Boop. You know, it's like, oh, how many times have I wanted to walk into the, you know, with a pack of hyenas while the boys were playing Jim. You know, and walk out and, you know, let nature take its course. But that's my insanity.
I was just thinking about the boy that tried to bully her on the TV series, and it's like, Mom, can we go play with the kitty?
Yeah, can we take Kitty Cat for a walk?
Full-blown lion. It's like, can we go play with the kitty?
Their pet. It's interesting because the Munsters had Fang, which was a dragon,
right,
that lived under the stairs with Grandpa, and the Addams family had Kitty Cat.
They had several. They had Kitty Cat, which was the lion. They had a full-blown alligator.
Yes, but the alligator
that was in the
alligator belonged primarily to Pugsley.
Right.
Kitty Cat was the family's cat.
Mm-hmm.
The alligator and the octopus belonged to Pugsley. Kitty Cat, however, was the whole family's cat. He's sitting there like, oh my God, can you talk about something in this century?
I just remember the look of that bully's parents' face when it's like they finally understood. It's like, oh, okay, they're going to have to go play with the cat, and they saw that it was a full-blown male lion. They were like, like, what is wrong with these people?
But he didn't get to bully her anymore.
Mm-mm. It was all based upon a misunderstanding, if I remember correctly. It was something that he thought she did to him.
He had a crush on her, and she didn't know it. If I remember correctly, he had like some sort of
No,
little crush on her, and she didn't know it or
I think
something.
Morticia figured out it was a crush.
Yes,
And
but
then she was trying to teach Wednesday how to be more ladylike.
but he misconstrued, because she didn't look at him that way.
Mm-hmm.
And something came up and he misconstrued her response to something and got angry.
Mm-hmm.
And because he had not been taught to deal with his emotions, he took it out on her. And to which I would have been like, yes, I thought I might figure out a way for him to pay us back for what he did to Wednesday. I sent him off to do a little horticulture.
Well,
I have
again,
a
what
plant.
he
I
did
have this
to
plant,
Wednesday,
Cleopatra,
clothing wise, I believe Wednesday gave him a black eye in return, in
Yes,
retaliation,
but
and
I
that's
would
where
have
the
fed
parents.
into
Yeah, that's where
Cleopatra.
his parents got involved.
I would have fed him to Cleopatra.
Right, the kitty cat.
No, Cleopatra was the plant. Remember
Oh,
attacking the Triffids?
the Venus flytrap, the big
No,
Venus
she's
flytrap.
the Triffid.
She's the
Cleopatra
man-eating Venus flytrap, I thought.
No, she's a Triffid. She's a Triffid from like the movie The Day of the Triffids. She's a Triffid. And because one time something happened, Cleopatra got depressed or she was sick or something, and Morticia was upset because she couldn't get her to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I've tried steak and hamburger and she just won't eat. But yeah, Cleopatra is a Triffid. Remember, she's got the thing like the Triffids.
One of the few. Again, I don't know the scientific name, but I always think of it as the man-eating,
She's
Venus
a Triffid.
flytrap.
She's a Triffid.
Yeah.
I love me. I always wanted a Cleopatra.
Again, it was similar to Seymour 2. That's why I consider Seymour 2. It was a form of that type of plant.
But her bloom does not get as big. In fact, we see a version of Cleopatra in the first movie because what's her name is snooping around the Addams house. It's Cleopatra that wraps the vines around,
mm-hmm.
and sort of takes a prisoner. Cliff looks like he's about to fall asleep.
No, it's the sugar rush from the pancakes is wearing off.
I'm trying really hard to remember all 4 episodes of the old Addams Family show I saw when I was little. So, because I don't even know what y'all talking about.
You and most of the other people watching the show probably have not gone. Like I said, we're in the way back machine. I'm gonna have Mr. Peabody. Can you bring us back to the present? I'm gonna let this go. So.
See, I kind of like a junkie for reruns for certain shows. So if it's on, I will watch it in reruns. So that's the only reason why I have such a clear memory of certain shows here.
I saw the Munsters and the Addams Family, and they came on back to back down here. Mm-hmm. I, honest to God, up until I was like 12, didn't know they were 2 different shows. I just was like, oh, okay.
I'm sorry, that was bad. I should not.
But it makes sense because they kind of like have the same theme and everything. But
they were actually competing series.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just remember that Gomez was the Riddler, and that's the only reason I remembered which was which.
Yeah, he was
Frank
Riddler.
Gorshin was the Riddler.
No. Gomez Addams, aka John Astin, was the second Riddler because he filled in for Gorshin. I believe it was season 3.
Mm-hmm. See, I put that out of my mind because him as the Riddler was like was the anti-Gomez, and I couldn't. My childish mind could not accept him as the Riddler. He was my Gomez, and that's what he had to be.
But you, like me, you could accept Eartha Kitt as Catwoman.
Yes. But I couldn't accept that. I was a beauty queen runner-up, and I have no acting experience.
Lee Merriweather.
Yeah, I couldn't accept her. No more than I
movie Catwoman. movie
Yes.
Catwoman who did a couple of
who
episodes.
murdered who screwed Catwoman until what's her name showed up, and suddenly Catwoman was a blonde, and then Halle Berry stabbed Catwoman all up in the head. And it's like, it's a good thing I don't
Well,
know where
that
you
movie,
live, Miss Berry, or I would.
that movie does not truly exist because that movie that Halle Berry did just like screw canon. I was like, okay, if you're going to screw canon, it's its own individual
It
thing.
wasn't
It
just.
does not exist.
It was, it wasn't just screw canon. It screw all the women who came before you, and that broke my heart because it's like, I get it. You want to make this character your own, but when you're making this character your own, is making her a travesty. And yeah, how did you make up for it? Now you got to go topless for, John Travolta, and then sleep with, Sling Blade dude so you can get an Oscar. I was so.
Again,
I
don't
will
bring up
never
Monsters Ball because I still don't.
I
like,
will never
That was
forgive
not
her.
Halle Berry's boobs in Operation Swordfish.
I don't care whose boobs they were. I will never forgive her for what she did.
Again, she received the Oscar for pretty much porn and Monstrous Ball.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. What it boiled
That's,
back down to.
I will never forgive her, and as much as I'm not for someone just grabbing someone you don't know and smooching on them. It's like, you know what? If you hadn't screwed Catwoman, I'd be insulted from you.
No, she
But
got
you had that coming.
she gets the double whammy award.
You know,
She gets the double whammy. We talked about one character. You keep forgetting about the other one, but I believe that in your mind, you also believe that character does not exist.
She shouldn't have never played Storm either. Okay, I was trying not to go there because I was trying to give you men time to do stuff on this show. Besides, let watch Elaine have a meltdown. No, you couldn't let me. I was trying to hold it on, and you just. You brought
up the whole thing about Ricky, so we went there.
Yeah,
so we went there.
Yeah, push. Don't.
So we kind of went there because again, I agree with you, Michelle Pfeiffer. If it wasn't for the look that she had inside the Catwoman suit, she was not Catwoman either.
But she was a better Selena Kyle. I liked her Selena Kyle, and to a degree, they based the Selena Kyle she did on they kind of based their animated Selena Kyles for the Batman the Animated Series in a bit on her in that regard, that chemistry that they had. They kind of based that. But I much prefer her as Catwoman than, No,
we're not going back there. But again, I put old girl who was the main character in the Devil Wears Prada over Michelle Pfeiffer. She played a little bit better of a Selene Kyle. She was not Catwoman, but she played.
But they didn't base the animated Selene Kyles on her. She came after the Batman the Animated Series. Selene Kyle.
But again, there was canon before Batman the Animated, and that's where the problem.
I get it. I did kind of like her Selena Kyle, but also I kind of Selena Kyle was more of a victim to some degree. To a bit degree, she was kind of a victim.
Didn't Batman Returns come out before the animated series? Because the animated series Penguin was Danny DeVito.
Mm-hmm.
He even had the duck. So
yeah,
okay.
He was also live action Penguin in the original Tim Burton Batman.
The only thing about the Batman Returns I liked was Christopher Walken. The rest of it was trash.
Oh, okay.
See, you don't want me to get started talking about Batman movies because the movies that was really, really trash, is like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
No, sir.
Oh,
No, sir. Bat
you
nipples.
just- Bat
Can't do it.
nipples, wonky bat
No.
bulges,
Schumacher Batman. No, I'm done.
bat nipples,
We
wonky bat
don't
bulges,
need
bat
rehashing of
butt
67 Batman.
bat butt curves. I mean, can we just
The bat black card.
You know, I'm just
Look, I'll be
I
honest with you. I think every Batman live action movie that's been made is utter trash. You could roll them all up and throw them off a mountain, and I wouldn't miss any of them. So
hey, Batman getting the shark off his leg with, you know, hairspray is you will not speak ill of that Batman.
Help.
No, I would go one better. I would go one better because the classic scene where he was in the restaurant and he finds the bomb. He gets the bomb. He goes down the stairs. He's like, everybody clear out. It's like, I have to figure out how to dispose of this bomb. Everybody leaves. He comes out the building. He goes one way on the pier. It's like, oh, here comes people this way. He goes another way on the pier. It's like everywhere he goes, it's like, I'm about to chuck the bomb to get to let it explode. It's like, oh, I can't do it because there's somebody over there. I can't let somebody else get hurt. And I have to like constantly run here, run there. It's like, this bomb would have exploded if it actually was set on an actual detonator time frame for the fuse that was lit.
It should have taken
No. That was a classic Warner Brothers bomb. Have you ever watched Bugs Bunny?
Yes.
Those things last forever. Up until
know,
Yosemite Sam gets it.
It's also in the Warner Brothers movie, a shark can bite you, be hanging on, you can be pulled up on a rope ladder, and a shark is on your thigh, and you spray some hairspray on it, and it lets go of you, and you don't have a mark. You will not speak bad of that Batman.
Again, that is the same Batman from the same show where the Batmobile blows up with Batman and Robin sitting in it. And we come back the following week and it says, holy thermonuclear underwear, Batman. Good thing we were wearing these things or else we would have been incinerated.
Hey, this was the show where Robin got fed to a giant clam. Yeah, there's a really naughty pee joke in there, but we're not going to go on it. But yes, he got put on a spoon and fed to a giant clam.
This is the same show that had Batman and Robin free the Green Hornet and Kato from being postage stamps.
TV was psychotic in our childhoods.
I mean,
people think TV is weird now. You have not lived until you've watched what passed for children's entertainment back in those days. And I swear to God, because half the guys writing those shows were not sober when they wrote them. These were a bunch of drunk men writing shows. And some of the stuff they came up with is, and we were kids, so we believed it. We fell for it. We were like hook, line, and sinker idiots. And we would go to school the next day and talk, if Batman came on Saturday, Monday, we were all talking about Batman until Battlestar Galactica came up, and then there was Man from Atlantis.
And there was always some specialty mega series that came on, because it's like we had eras where we was talking about Roots, then it was Shogun, and then it was the
blue and the gray, North and South, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. V. The first, it was V. The series, the first V was a mini series event, and it got so popular, it became V: The Final Battle, which was another series. It was another mini series event, and that got so popular, they then created the series. So it was one of those things where, Like I said, the folks who wrote for my generation spent half their time on benders, coke fueled benders, and the TV shows that we watched, bear that out, So yes, so children, because I'm 64, I'm the oldest person here. If you go back and watch things from my childhood, whether it's Hoppity Hooper or Be the Series or any of that, yes, they were written by psychotic men who run drug-fueled alcoholic benders who were intravenously shooting up vodka. It's just back and smoking. They smoked at least 10 packs a day. How any of those people lived long enough to die in their 70s, believe me, is beyond. Medical science still hasn't figured it out. They were a generation apart. So yeah,
I would agree and attest to that, because the more I think about Batman 67, I think about the only villain that Batman really have not captured and sent to jail. Do you know who that was? Well, actually, it was two. So I don't consider Catwoman in that same category. But there was a male villain that he never truly captured and sent to jail.
It wasn't Egghead, was it?
No.
No.
Because remember, Egghead. No, I'm thinking King Tut. King Tut was the guy that was suffering from multiple personalities after he get hit in his head.
Yeah, because one of them was kind of a shy dude, and the other one thought he was a reincarnated version of Tutankhamun. He was
do you know who it is?
Well, it wasn't Shane.
Yes, it was.
Okay, it was Shane. Okay, because I was in my head, my batting decks is going off, and I'm trying to remember. Okay, who did he not put in the Who Scout? And it was like, who among them would have said Who Scout? Shane.
Yeah, every time he bested Shane would leave town.
He'd
and you
run
had
away.
The little bitty kid going, "Come back, Shane! Come back! I missed you. Come back!" And with one time that Batman technically didn't beat him, Shane was a man of his word.
Was that the one where he blows that thing up?
No, that was the one where he created a vehicle that was faster than the Batmobile. And he said, if Batman ever found a way to possibly catch me using this vehicle,
he would leave.
I would gladly
leave Gotham.
Batman barely outsmarted him. That's what ended up happening. Batman outsmarted him, and it was like, "No, I'm a man of my word." And the little kid said it again. "Shane, come back."
This is why so many of my generation had to go into therapy. The stuff we grew up with.
Again, we grew up with what was his name? Sergeant O'Hara, which had no bearing on the whole Batman lore whatsoever.
Oh my God. And why the Irish did not burn down Hollywood. O'Hara was he made Irishmen look. Oh, Faith and Begorra. Oh, Faith and Begorra, Batman. And all the Irish people I know, not one of them have ever used that term.
Exactly.
All the Irish people I've known, including ones I've slept with, never used it.
But you still have to put respect on a certain Alfred Pennyworth. That still has been the main theme across all Batman shows and all Batman movies. You gotta put respect on the name of Alfred Pennyworth.
There would be no Batman.
That TV show is the reason Alfred came back. Alfred was dead in the comics, and the TV show was like, "Hey, bring him back. We want him on the TV show."
Oh, they killed him in the comic books, and then Gotham came out, and we saw what Alfred bring to the table again? And people was like, why did you kill Alfred? Alfred would have not gone out the way that he did in the comic.
You know, and
my youngest loved Alfred. He loved the fact that Bruce was left alone, but even though he didn't have his mom and dad, Alfred
he had a father within Alfred.
Alfred was there, and Alfred didn't just let him run. While Alfred gave him a certain amount of leeway, he didn't let him just run wild. Alfred was always there to try to steer him in what he felt was the right direction. You know, and I love the fact that Sean Pertwee played that part, because I met his father, and he was them blue eyes would just kill you.
Is it Matt Fraction who's taking over Batman next, and Alfred's going to be an AI?
Ew.
No.
Ew.
It is Matt Fraction, isn't it? I have the right creator.
I don't know.
He's having a
even in
here.
DC versus Vampires, Alfred
this
was a
is why in the comic books I'm a big fan of Thomas Wayne. Screw Bruce, because they can't keep our boy together without having Alfred there. All the animated series shows how valuable Alfred is to keep Bruce on the straight and narrow.
To keep him on the even keel. If there was no Alfred, Bruce would have just gone into insanity. You know, Alfred is the one that reminds him that Batman is that Bruce Wayne is the person, and Batman is the alternative identity instead of the other way around.
Bruce, Alfred kept him from going into Arkham Asylum himself. Alfred kept reminding him he is no different than the criminals that he was bringing in.
Alfred was also the
at this point. You're no different. The only thing that's saving you is that you have the right people guiding you consciously.
Yeah.
To keep you on the straight and narrow. Because if you was left to your own faculties, you'd be
right up there with the Penguin and the Joker and everybody else.
See, all of this stuff you're talking right here, all of this is Frank Miller's fault.
Okay.
All of this. Because pre-Frank Miller, Batman was a well-adjusted human being who had issues.
Yes.
It wasn't until Frank Miller came along and made him an asshole that we had this talk about, well, he would have been in Arkham if not for blah, blah, blah. So that's one of the reasons if I ever meet him, I'm going to punch him.
Okay.
That, and because he has no idea how to write Superman.
Okay.
Oh, nope.
If
that god awful Dark Knight Returns tripe I can't even sell to get rid of.
Okay. If he ever shows up at C2E2, then I can knee him in the nutstone for you.
And tell him it's from me. And I will send you pancakes through Western Union.
Okay. I'll do it for some pancakes.
But before all of this,
I'll even make him do the footage so I can prove that I whooped his ass for pancakes. And I will tell him, I just whooped your ass for pancakes. What you gonna do?
After Frank Miller, we had going on 40 plus years now of asshole Batman, where we have to worry about his psychological makeup and all of this. Before that, he had problems, but he was a normal human being.
He was not ultra paranoid.
As normal as you can get for wearing a bat suit and fighting people like Killer Moth. It wasn't until Frank Miller came along. And Killer Croc was a gangster who killed Jason Todd's parents because Jason Todd was an acrobat too with red hair. But it was Frank Miller came along. Oh, we got to have broody, sad ass Batman. Hold on one second. Mommy already told you.
Rudy ultra swole Bruce.
Who just
with a female Robin.
Who is that?
Yeah. Penelope just came by and is trying to get me in trouble because she doesn't know that I know that she's grounded from playing video games right now.
So she can't come on camera, so I can say hi.
No, she was trying to get me in trouble because she wanted to play on the PlayStation, and Mommy already told her no. So,
So it was like, oh, okay, mommy said no, but I'll go talk to
but
daddy.
daddy,
I'm
See,
going to talk to dad,
daddy's
who probably
talking.
doesn't know, who probably didn't get the
Yeah.
911 from mom that
see,
I'm grounded.
see,
Mm-hmm.
I am so happy as a single parent because I think it would have been very damaging for my boys if I had been married to one of their fathers and they had played them. Mama said no, so I'm gonna get daddy to say yes. And then to find that father hanging naked from, the ceiling covered in bruises. It's like,
Yes,
what did I say? And
I grew up
all
in a
of them
single
together
parent
going,
household.
you said
No,
no.
only
It's like,
thing I could picture is them walking in and you turn around and say, "Oh, we're just having a discussion and playing a little bit.
no, it's like, I said no.
This is just role play.
Nope,
But
nope,
but
nope,
take this as a lesson.
nope,
Whatever I say goes."
nope. It would
Yeah.
have been mama whoop daddy's butt because he don't know when to shut up. And it's like, now do we have
Sounds like
homework?
my house.
That
Yeah.
that would have been, and that would have been it. And it's like, yeah, I'll let you down when I think you've learned your lesson or the blood rushes enough to your head when you pass out. See, this
I'm
is why I'm single. This is why.
I'm just
For
thinking
people who
Fist
wonder
of the
why is
North
she single.
Star. Fist of the North Star when Kenshiro finally sees the statue of Jackie and
Oh,
he punches it. And it's like, my brother Jackie always had a glass jaw. And I just think to myself, I was like, yeah, that's kind of like Elaine if she ever has a husband. It's like, okay, he tried to overturn my authority. Okay,
well,
honey, can
see,
I see you for a second?
well, see, I wouldn't get married unless it was understood very clearly and succinctly. I will kill you without hesitation. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to scream. I'll do what my mama did. Father pulled that once. He went to sleep. He woke up. She had tied him to the bed. And she had sticks that she had tied together. And he woke up. And before he could get Carmela, bang! After a while, when the whimpering ceased, came out of the bedroom. And all I heard was, I'll untie you when I'm in the mood. You know?
Why would again? I'm picturing the tied up bit and everything. Then all of a sudden, Azumanga Daioh dealing with Osaka coming in there. It's like she thought she grabbed some pots and pans and she had this big old butcher knife. And I was like, oh, you're awake. Never mind.
I could not.
I just wanted to wake you up. Oh, never mind.
I couldn't be married because it would, we had those disagreements. I'm too much like my mother. There's a point in an argument where she hulks out. You literally see it, and that's your ass. That is your ass. She is tired of listening. You are arguing about against whatever she said. That is now your ass. And there is no place in this house that you can hide where she won't get you. And if you try to hide, it's going to be 10 times worse. See, I just, as a woman, I'm not sure how I could, the cops would just be showing up laughing, and
But
the
yet
one
she
time I
doesn't know where you
cornered.
get she doesn't know where you get all of this fine
She knows
stuff from.
because she remembers the day when I was 16 and she came home and I had her boyfriend at the time cornered behind the fridge. And I had a meat cleaver in one hand and a carving knife in the other. And I was daring him to come out from behind that fridge because I wanted to kill him. Not hurt him. I wanted to kill him. And my mother was like, what's happening? It's like, I want him to come out from behind that fridge so I can kill him. And my mother was like, well, you could go behind the fridge. It's like, I don't have enough room to swing properly if I go behind that fridge because there's not enough space. I need him out here. where I can swing properly, and he won't have a time. He won't have a chance to block it because I was short, I was fast, and I had my mama's evil streak. I have inherited both my parents' evil streak, and in the military taught me how to refine that evil streak into death dealing. So, this is people. Why she got them tits? Why is she single? This is why I'm single. Okay, me being single keeps a lot of men out of the grave. Okay, I am not on the FBI's most wanted list for having murdered a whole string of men because I am single. This is me doing society a favor. Don't you love me?
Now you go back. I'm cute.
Right on.
I am adorable. I'm just adorable. Oh, I gotta send you a picture of something. Your youngest likes to draw.
Mm-hmm.
I found something. If I get what I'm hoping to get, I wanted to get her something.
Okay.
But I wanted to show it to you first so that you could say, okay, that's okay, and give it to Joe, and Joe will get it to me. Or, woman, I will come up there and strangle you.
That probably won't happen, but okay.
Well, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it is now, I have ruined the show again. It is 9:03, and it is hotter than a mofo. My little waves is dead. I need more stuff to drink. I am dying.
And it's been 2 hours, so we have hit our limit.
I'm sorry, y'all. I tried. I failed.
No, it actually was a decent episode because like I said, because of the thumbnail, we was going to really talk about stuff that was going on television that we grew up with that was comic book related. So we did talk about Spidey Super Stories. We got to Batman 67.
And the Addams Family was a comic strip. So technically, I kept it within our bounds.
See, all part of my master plan. So I just don't, it's like if we was getting off base, I would say we getting off base. We wasn't off base.
Well, I can't wait till the Mighty Nine and the next Vox Machina comes out, because I will be so happy. And I'm also hoping to get a new Mad magazine or pick up something classic at First Aid, because I haven't had a book to. The book I'm listening to now on Audible is called Tusk Love. That was Courtney giggling in the background. Right. It's your fault.
So, the thumbnail for next week, right? The thumbnail for next week comes from a little bitty known show on PBS called Square One TV. And
Square One, yes. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I know Square One.
It's called, kind of and the thumbnail comes from a skit that they used to do there called MathNet.
Yes.
So now you can guess where we're probably going to end up going with this here. We're going to probably be talking about all the TV to comic book related police series here. So we get to talk about stuff like Police Squad and Dick Tracy and all those things next week.
Oh my goodness, that means I get to make fun of what's his name.
Speaking of which, I'm still going to wait until it comes to stream, but I want to see the new Naked Gun with Liam Neeson.
Isn't it already on streaming? I think it's on.
No, it's in theaters.
Okay. I think it's supposed to come to Prime Video in the next month or so. I think either Prime. Yeah, I think it's supposed to come to Prime Video.
I'm just waiting for it to come to streaming before I can watch it here. What they said is that for it to be if I could say, not making fun of the original, it's supposed to be its own thing where the actual son of Leslie Nielsen takes over the main character.
Liam Neeson is supposed to be Leslie Neal. Oh God. Okay.
No, they actually related in real life. I didn't realize that.
They're related in real life. Are they cousins or something? Because
But in the movie, they made it as
he's
if
supposed.
they were father and son.
Okay, but
So he plays Frank Drebin Jr.
but the thing is, please.
And he pulled off Frank Drebin pretty well from all the
Okay.
clips that I've seen here.
Okay, because that's very broad comedy, and I've seen Liam Neeson do comedy. If you've ever seen Love Actually, but he's more straight-laced comedy.
Oh, you
It's
gotta
more
see
British
him in this movie.
kind of straight-laced comedy, not that broad Leslie Nielsen Great Beaver joke comedy.
You need to see this one.
Sorry.
You need to
I
see
will
this
have
one.
to see it.
But for some reason, he's doing well in this
Wow.
setting.
Okay, I will have to see it because, like I said, I've seen him in Love Actually, and as reactionary stuff to what the kid is doing, you know, as a man who's lost his wife and then has to deal with he's raising the child. It's his stepson, not his son, but he cares enough for this child. It is a part of her, and if for no other reason, he wants to take care of this child, and then the child has a crush on the girl and goes through all this stuff, and Neeson, his comedy in that show is more reactionary to what the boy is doing. So it's more, you know, so I'm just not used to him being broad comedy type. I will really have to watch this.
Yeah, you have to watch it because you would get the same type of feels of when, you know, the only thing that you remember Leslie Nielsen from was, you know, movies like Forbidden Planet, where he played more serious characters. And then you come right into Naked Gun or Police Squad. You go like, I did not know he had this range.
Well,
and the same thing happened with Liam. It was like,
well, I grew up with Leslie Nielsen.
He literally has
I grew
range.
up with him in those old, in the afternoons on Channel 32, they used to show those old 50s, and on Svengoolie, they showed a lot of those old 50s sci-fi horror movies. So I am used to seeing him in that way. So when they were first doing Naked Gun and all of that, I was like, are you serious? But, you know, he was good. You know, if
it wasn't for him doing that, you know, his roles and stuff like Airplane and stuff would have fell flat.
Yeah. But he proved that, you know, he was one of those rare actors who, especially in his second stage of his career, just went up and said, well, this is the typecasting, but I'm not that guy anymore. I'm this guy. And you either will deal with me as this guy or you won't deal with me at all. And he was good at it. He backed it up with the talent. There are other actors who've done that, and it's like, okay, you know what? You should have stuck to. There are some things that some actors are just not meant to do, and you one of them actors. But you know, I don't know. Maybe because also back then, my generation grew up on actors who I grew up as one of those generations. Yeah, we had the movies of our day, but we also had all the movies that came before. So it was not unknown to in the afternoon see something from the 60s or the 70s, and then late night catch something from the 30s or the 40s. You know, film noir was as much of what I viewed on TV as, you know, I felt blessed because, you know, we had the Three Stooges, we had the Little Rascals, we had film noir, we had all the classic literature movies. You got to see all of those actors, and this was because it was also at a time where you had to know how to do a lot of something. You couldn't just be the handsome man. You had to also, you had to be able to at least carry a tune.
The
Even if,
idea of a triple threat was literally a triple threat. You have to
yeah.
be able to act, you have to be able to sing, and you have to be able to dance.
And there is that point from 1935 to 1962, where you had a whole generation of triple threat. People forget, everybody, you say Jimmy Cagney and people go, you dirty rat. But people forgot, before that, he was a song and dance man. He
I
started,
thought he played in westerns.
no, Cagney, nowadays, Cagney is best known for his gangster roles.
Right.
Top of the World mod, but before that, people forget. There's a scene in what is it, the Bob Hope movie where he and Bob Hope are dancing on a tabletop.
Right.
He did Yankee Doodle Dandy before he was before he did a dance, because he started not on Broadway but vaudeville. They
That's
all
the reason
those
why I
guys
remember it.
started in vaudeville. So
That's,
you had to know how to tell a joke, how to dance, how to sing, because you had to have multiple talents or you weren't going to make a living and eat. And a lot of the early talent there was a whole generation of them that were triple threats. It was the rare talent that could be easily, shoehorned into one thing. You might get a Bogey or a Lugosi or something like that, but they were the outliers, because a lot of those actors had to be someone that they could, you couldn't make money as a studio if you didn't have somebody that you could put into different things.
I still think to this day here, would have Lucille Ball been the person that she became if she didn't get up under the tutelage of Red Skelton? Because that was the beginning of her second surgence in Hollywood, because her movie career was just about over.
Well,
and Red Skelton saw, no, you got comedy all over you.
You should be doing.
Let me help you pull that out.
You should be doing more comedy. You should be doing more TVs. But also, people forget, at the time, she was also a featured face for those old Follies films. I forget which one of the Follies ones it was, but there's the scene, it's the lion tamer and the girls are dressed as black cats. Lucy's the lion tamer. She's the featured performer in that. There's a couple of them. There's one where all the women are on a cake. She's the top of the friggin' cake. So,
But that's, towards the tail end of her dramatic career, where she was that, and
yes,
Skelton
but then
saw it. It was like, no, come here.
But she also did, she also transited into radio with my favorite husband and stuff. So she had this, but then she transitioned, into other things. I think Desi didn't transition as well in front of the camera as she did. I think that was something that a lot of the Latin lover guys at the time, because they were so put into that, they were put into this box. This was at the time that Hollywood was creating the box, the bombshell, the exotic beauty, the bombshell, the girl next door. You went from people who could do a lot of everything to suddenly you had people in specific categories. And instead of it just being that one or two that was in a category, suddenly that became the mold. And the people who could do it all, they started to fade as they got older and stuff. And even though they were finding younger talent, because the younger talent were basing themselves more on Kelly and those guys, where they had You had men who could do a lot, because at that time we had everybody suddenly was getting categorized, and we were moving out of the big musical spectacle. There was a lot of young talent that went by the wayside, and a lot of people, because they wanted to do more. It's like Anne Margaret went to Vegas. There are a lot of people who ended up going to Vegas, or they went to Broadway or off Broadway, because they realized there is a point at which it was like, well, you're either going to get categorized or you're going to get out. And they were like, well, I'm going to get out. Especially if they could go elsewhere, and do it, because they just did not want to be categorized. Say, well, you can only be this, and then people who could do more than that, like the Streisands and stuff who came up. But even Streisand got to a point where, they began sort of tightening that category around her. And so, because I think her last big musical was Funny Girl. Funny Lady did not do very well. Funny Girl was the big hit. And then she had, but then even though she was singing songs for soundtracks, they started like limiting, on a clear day you can see forever, where she's the patient and finds out she's a reincarnated wife of Henry VIII or something like that. She sings on the soundtrack, but she acts. It's like, no, we don't want you doing the big number anymore. You have to, or what's that classic Norman dance? It's not us, it's the pictures that got small.
Right.
So yeah, it was, I look at some of the new stuff that's out and my heart kind of breaks, because there are people you watch and go, oh, you should be doing more. You can be doing more, you should be doing more. But because you look this way, or people like you this way, you can only do this thing. That's what they're only willing to pay you to do this thing.
And that's
black actors fall under that a lot.
Well, that was that was one of the reasons why during that time, a lot of actors from the 40s and 50s eventually went overseas in the 60s and by the 60s, because over there, they still had opportunity there where Hollywood would not pick them up.
Some older actresses found that they had better careers in Italy and France, where they were still considered sexy or desirable, because in America it was like, oh, well, you hit 40, bye, and so they went elsewhere and went, oh, well, here I'm a sex symbol, so I'm gonna keep doing, because not everybody gets to be Mae West.
But again, she was typecast, though. She was definitely typecast. If it wasn't Western related, you don't see Mae West doing kind of like a urban movie per se.
No, but she, realizing the box they were putting her in, she then decided to write the rules for that box. Whereas where others were like, well, you can take it or leave it, she got up and went, baby, I'm gonna not only take it, but I'm gonna rewrite the rules, and ain't nothing you can in the audience, and I got enough of the audience behind me, and shit you can do about it. And they just had to go, okay. She was that rare talent where she wasn't going to play,
right.
And she didn't. But anyway, yes, it is now 9:20.
Yep, it's that time to say goodbye. So,
and then poor Cliff, he's like, can we just have one day when it's not old fogey theater?
Now, my oldest was telling me goodnight. She gave me the bird and walked off, so I was looking at her. Oh no, we do that. That's our term of endearment. We do that to each other all the time.
Okay. It's because my heart just like.
I'm just thinking to myself, it's like back in the day, that would have been like, oh, guess what? Go get that Switch.
Oh, yes.
Go get that Switch.
Not only were you getting whooped, but you had to go get you had to go get the weapon of your destruction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
you pick the
doing
wrong
something
one,
like that was
they
just
mess it
not,
up.
it was just not something that you did wrong. It's like, oh, that was blatant.
Mhm.
Oh, yes. But
No,
It's
anyway.
like Ghostbusters. Choose
do
the
that to
form
your
of your destroyer.
I swear, when first time I watched that movie, the first thing that popped into my mind was Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know why. Was Edgar Allan Poe? Have you read Poe?
Not today.
But anyway, so let me go ahead and climb out so then you guys can be there. Thank you guys for just holding on with us because once again I have taken us all into the Twilight Zone and we may never come out alive. But we love you. We love the fact that you deal with my insanity. You haven't shown up at my house yet with an Uzi, so I'm grateful for that. Y'all take care. Give us a like, subscribe. If you want me, find me at lenscaponline.com. Because right now, that's, you can go down to the little thing at the bottom of the page that says contact us. Zip me a line. Me, not AI, will answer you back. Okay? Y'all take care. Behave yourselves. Okay? Don't want to hear y'all been don't want to find out y'all been messing up. Okay? Because it will get ugly. Take care. Behave. Catch you later.
And now we got Cliff.
Thank you. Come again. I'm still here in Olive Branch. Just come and find me if you're that bored. Have a good night.
And that brings us to letting you guys know that, yes, this is a somewhat sponsored show. Why? Because we got Jeffrey Hayes of Plasma Fire Graphics, who generously each and every week wants to sponsor us, the show that of our shows here, which is Comic Book Spectrum, which was originally started by Brian K. Morris, and he's been hanging in here with us all this time. So if you need a cover from an award-winning artist, take a gander at this video and give Jeffrey Hayes some consideration.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You seen those covers? Those covers, some of them have been award winning. Why don't you get that on your book, graphic novel, or comic? Just go ahead and hit up Jeffrey Hayes at plasmafiregraphics.com. As far as me, I'll be back here on Saturday. And yes, Saturday is going to be kind of like a melancholy type episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. Because why? I turned the big 5-0. So it's going to be kind of like a birthday celebration / whatever happens here. So we will deal with that on Saturday. But until then, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike Brian K. Morris, the founder of Comic Book Spectrum, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. We'll catch you here next week, right here, 7 p.m. Central, for another episode of Comic Book Spectrum. Goodbye and good night.